Welcome to 2022. Can you believe it? It's a brand new year, and I am Melissa Lieberman. If we haven't met yet, I am a executive coach for independent consultants, and I wanted to share with you today the concept of making sure you have metrics established for your business. So I'm going to walk you through what those metrics might be, how to a tool that you can use, a strategy that you can use to make sure that you're hitting those metrics. So that's a really important agenda item. Number two is really important for you because a lot of us set metrics, a bunch of them, and then they end up doing nothing for us because we're not leveraging the strategy that I'm going to share with you. And then I'll talk with you about how to maintain consistency. So 3 tools that you can leverage to maintain consistency after you've established the metrics that you want to track. So both consistency by way of tracking the metrics as well as doing the actions required to accumulate the metrics. So that is our plan for today in the Success Habits series for independent consultants. So let's first talk about what are the metrics, the kinds of metrics that you want to be tracking for your consulting business. The first one, I like to look at these in 4 different buckets. So the first would be lead generation. So what kinds of metrics are you tracking for your business relative to lead generation? A few examples would be how many conversations does it take for me to create a lead? So maybe it takes 10 networking conversations to create one lead, whether it's that person you're talking to who's interested in discussing your services further, or perhaps someone referring you based on those conversations. How many conversations does it take to create a lead? How many contacts within a certain organization does it take to create a lead? How many how many leads does it require in your pipeline at all times to keep your business running and growing? Think about what those metrics are for you and then put those in a scorecard for yourself so that you know exactly what it is that you need to be tracking in terms of lead generation in order to fuel your business to the financial goals that you have for this year. The second category or bucket of metrics would be sales related metrics. So what makes sense for you for your business to be tracking in terms of sales metrics? A couple examples would be what's your average length to close a contract? Your average sales cycle length. That's the word I was trying to look for. What's your average sales cycle length? The duration of that sales cycle. What is the average? What's your close percentage? What's your average deal size? Tracking those kinds of metrics for your sales processes is really important. So for you, figure out what those metrics are for your business from a sales perspective. The third bucket that you're going to want to be tracking from a metrics perspective is your client delivery. So what would make sense for you in your business as you look at client delivery to keep track of? Some examples might be utilization. Some examples might be profitability of individual clients as well as overall clients. You may track billings. You may track kind of outstanding number of hours that are outstanding against your contracts. So those are some of the you could track quality related metrics here, really, really valuable. So those are some of the types of metrics you want to be tracking from a client delivery perspective. And then finally, from the last bucket is financials. From a financials perspective, what are the metrics that make sense for you and your business to be tracking? So some examples might be profit margin. Some examples might be revenue month over month or quarter over quarter. So again, figure out what those metrics are for your business, for you and your business. And you can use those 4 buckets that I shared with you: lead generation, sales, client delivery, and overall financials. And then you may have some specific to your business model as well, but those will get you 80% of the way there, if not 100% there. So that's the first thing you want to do, is really figure out what are the metrics that you're going to be tracking for the health and growth of your business and to compare back to the goals that you've set. The second strategy that I want to share with you is once you've mapped out what those metrics are for you and your business, the strategy that I want to share with you that works incredibly well is to choose one of those metrics to focus on in a given quarter or perhaps a month, but no less than that. For a given quarter, which of those metrics is going to move the needle for you in your business? For you right now, it might be some metric related to lead generation. So the goal that you might set for this quarter is, I'm going to track all of these metrics, but my main focus is improving the ratio between number of conversations I have to number of leads I create. So let's just make up a number. If you're taking 10 conversations to create one lead, then you might set a goal to say, I'm going to start having 7 conversations to create one lead. But choose one of those metrics to focus on for a quarter and know what your baseline is. What's the number right now? If you don't know it exactly, just make an educated guess. And then set a goal of what do you want to move it to by the end of the quarter. And then figure out how do you get from where you are now to where you want to be. So that strategy can be incredibly valuable. Otherwise, this is just a big spreadsheet that requires more overhead for you to track everything and creates overwhelm because you don't know where to start. You've got all these numbers, but what do you do about them? Hey, Curtis, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Good to see you here. Thanks for the comment. And so that's the really important thing here is figuring out what one of those metrics will move the needle and constraining yourself to that. If I leave you with nothing else today, but that one strategy, it's going to make such a difference for you. Okay. And then the third component of the metrics plan that we want to set up for you and your business is for you to create consistency. So once you know what the metrics are that you're going to be tracking, and you know what the activities are that populate or create those metrics, essentially, then you want to figure out, how do I create consistency with myself as I am implementing these new things? So in some cases, it may be that you're doing the work and now it's just a matter of tracking it more granularly. So you've got essentially a dashboard for your business. And for other metrics, it will be you putting a new process in place, new actions in place in order for you to start creating and accumulating those metrics. So when it comes to creating that consistency, what you're going to want to do is 3 things. Number 1, you're going to want to create some kind of a dashboard for yourself. Make it simple. A lot of us, when we start thinking about this, and I've fallen into this trap too, we think, well, I better get some new software to do this. Maybe I should implement Pipedrive for my, to track all of my leads. Maybe I should get a CRM. Maybe we start overcomplicating it. My best recommendation for you is to get an Excel spreadsheet, put your metrics on there. I like to capture how I'm calculating them just so that I don't forget over time, where those numbers are coming from. And in some cases, a great way to do it is to grab data from different systems that you might already have set up in place, like an invoicing system, for example, and just have the raw data automatically pushed over to this Excel spreadsheet. You can use a tool called Zapier to do that, but don't overcomplicate this. This is literally just I like to call it a command center. This is you just setting up your dashboard for these metrics in one simple place where you can track them and not overcomplicating it. The second thing so that's number 1. Number 2, from a tool to maintain your consistency, would be for you to schedule it in your calendar. So you need to schedule 2 things. You're going to want to schedule time in your day and your week to do the activities that create the metrics. So for example, especially if your focus area is generating more leads, then you want to carve out 30 minutes a day to execute the steps that will result in you creating more leads. I'll put a link after this video to share with you routine that you can use for 30 minutes a day in order to create a more robust pipeline for your consulting business. So that will just give you the whole standard operating procedure if you download that. So that's an example, right? If your goal is, I want to create more qualified leads with fewer conversations, if that's the metric you're focusing on this quarter, then you want to carve out the time every day, 30 minutes, to be working on getting that number, that on that specific metric. The actions that result in capturing data for that, creating the momentum and the activity for that specific metric. So that's the calendaring that you'll want to do. The second calendaring that you're going to want to do is carving out time to actually update the metrics. I like to do this on Friday afternoons, have a block of admin time and use that to make sure that all the metrics that I'm tracking are up to date. Again, we're not trying to overcomplicate this. Just set aside 15 minutes so that you've got this data captured at all times, and so that you are not trying to catch up, once a month, and spending a couple of hours doing this, because then it becomes something that's not useful to you as a tool to run your business. It becomes a burden. We don't want this. Okay. And then the last step for you in terms of tools to maintain your consistency. So again, we're working on staying consistent with the activities that fuel the metrics, as well as staying consistent with tracking the metrics. So we've got two things going on here. The third strategy or tool that I want to share with you is to create a protocol, what I like to call a resistance protocol. When you're not in the mood to do something, and it happens to all of us, I'm not in the mood on Friday afternoon most of the time to keep track of these metrics. But I know if I spend 10 minutes doing it, then I make this a non-negotiable. So it's essentially a non-negotiable in my business. So no matter what mood I'm in, I'm going to do it anyway. That's my resistance protocol. So for you, figure out what that resistance protocol is. Assume that you're not going to want to track the metrics. Assume that you're not going to want to do all the activity required for you to improve whatever metric is your focus for this quarter. Make that assumption that life is not going to go through in a streamlined, no resistance fashion. Instead, be realistic with yourself. Know that you're going to hit bumps along the way, whether it's an emergency on a client, or whether it's you just we're preferring to do something else. Whatever it is, create ahead of time what you're going to do, how you're going to handle this, so that you no matter what, you're tracking these metrics, no matter what, you're doing the work required to improve that focus metric that you've got for the quarter. So that's what I've got for you today, your 2022 metrics plan. If you would love some help on this, I have a couple of downloads that you can go grab that will help you to put this into action. The first one is that how to generate quality leads in 26 minutes a day. I'll put the link to that after we finish this live. It'll be in the comments. The second tool that I would love to share with you is a planner. So your 2022 planner, where I walk you through the steps to get really clear on what your plan is and your goals are and your ultimate vision for your business is in 2022. So I'll put the link to that in the comments as well. And then finally, I encourage you, so that we can apply this to you and your business specifically, go schedule an IC blueprint call with me. The link is right here in my right next to my name. So you can go grab all the details on that webpage and sign up for your IC blueprint session, so that we can really dig into your business in a live setting and figure all of this out for you. And you'll have a really strong playbook for this upcoming year. So so glad to see you again on this Monday independent consulting stand up. And I will see you again next Monday. Have a good one.